Right. If you're asking where the best place to get Flecktarn is, I'd say eBay, same as everywhere else. I think I've got all my Flecktarn stuff off of eBay. Pretty sure I have anyway. But you can normally get most of the stuff between £10 and £20 for like each of the bits, like the trousers, the shirts, everything else. So yeah, hello everybody who's just joining. The only thing you have to be careful of with Flecktarn is obviously other companies reprint the stuff in Flecktarn. So what you obviously want to be careful of is to make sure, you know, like you're getting the genuine stuff. I mean, getting the third-party stuff might be alright if you just want the pattern, but the German Army Flecktarn stuff is like really comfortable and everything else. Streams online for me. Is it offline for anybody else? Flecktarn's the camouflage I've got on. The stream isn't going to be all about Flecktarn, I just wanted to give it a name, so I called it Flecktarn. Yeah, so I'm assuming the people who aren't seeing me online are people who just have bad internet. Yeah, can you stop spamming hello over and over? I might put slow mode on actually only by about 10 seconds. But that normally stops people spamming the comments. The YouTube encoder says all my streams working properly. So, as far as I can tell at my end, the stream's fine. A few of you saying there's problems. It should be right. Oh, I can see all the messages. Because I get the live chat thing on my screen. So that's how I can read the comments and respond to them. One I got for about 15 quid, the S10. The other S10 I paid about £30 for. Depends where you get them from. I don't think I got a link for a vid you sent me, so maybe YouTube removed it, Fallout Player. I'm pretty sure I didn't get a link, so maybe YouTube removed it as spam or something. If you want to see the first video I made, all you have to do is go on my channel and sort by oldest to newest, and you can see it. It's an easy thing to do. Sven, the average time an FP5 lasts, like every filter, totally depends on what it's exposed to. There's no average time a filter lasts. I think they have 10 years from production to expiry on the official dates. Alright, gas masks and stuff. But, like all filters, there's not an actual, you know, like, time they'll last. Sometimes you can get manufacturers, like, info that says gas in this concentration and the filter will last this long. But as with all filters, you evacuate as soon as there's gas with the mask and the filter on. You don't stand around in the cloud of gas. It's a filter. Yeah, I mean, a lot of filters are going to last longer than 10 years anyway, especially if you've got them foil wrapped and then plugged as well. But like I said, each thing, I think Avon does 20 years on their filter shelf life. It depends how they store them as well. Like some of the filters come in those like plastic kind of tubs. You have to break the tub open and then you have to break the seals on the filter. But all filters last a bit longer than when their official expiry date is. You just don't guarantee they'll last at all after that time. Tell you what, I'll put slow mode back off for now and see if that's better for people. I don't know. Newest gas mask made's the newest one a company's made. No idea. A lot of it's like secret military stuff and their prototypes. If you're in Australia, I have no idea where you'd get a cheap S10. I can't check prices abroad because I can only see what they cost in the UK. Yeah, get asked that every single stream, do I play Airsoft? I've done it a few times. There's actually an Airsoft gun box behind me, funnily enough. But, no, with Airsoft, the reason I don't go very often, as I said in all these streams, is simply because it's hard to arrange with friends to go, and there's only one place that's sort of local to me, and they do it like either 1 or 2 Sundays a month, so trying to arrange that with people who might work weekends is pretty much impossible. There's no difference. The R in NBC or CBRN stands for radiological, and that you can't get radiological suits, so it's pretty much a pointless addition. Technically, they're not exactly the same because CBRN includes radiological, which is meant to be things like neutron bombs and things like that. But when it's applied to suits, they can only be NBC suits, they can't be CBRN suits regardless, so yeah, I mean, CBRN can refer to like lead shielded stuff, then that actually has the radiological thing. Todd Stuff. Is Todd Stuff the guy who does the crossbows? Let's have a look. There's nothing jumping out at me at being particularly cheap on Todd Stuff. I mean, it probably is a cheap dagger somewhere, but is there no way of sorting from price low to high? There it is at the top. Right, let's see. No, cheapest thing on there is 90 quid. There's no £60 dagger on there. I've done videos on that NIAM. I'd suggest you watch the videos on like faults you can find in the masks and things like that. I'd recommend getting more than 2 filters personally, because yeah, you want one for training and getting to know the mask, and you want at least 1 or 2 spare filters that you can open, and then obviously if your first filter runs out before you can evacuate, then you can switch to another filter. Played Fallout 1 and 2, couldn't get on with them because they're old games. I think they're good games, but it's just, I find them too antiquated to play now. Fallout 3 is crap because it's made by Bethesda, who can't make games now. Fallout 4 is crap for the same reason for the most part. New Vegas is good because it's made by Obsidian, not Bethesda, but it's still on Bethesda's awful engine. If you wore a GP5 for Airsoft, your eyes are going to get destroyed. If a BB hits the glass, it will shatter it and you'll get BB and glass in your eye. Read lots of books. I read mostly non-fiction because I like historical reference books, but I sometimes read some fiction, but I've got a silly video coming out as a 30k special video because people asked for that because I hit 30,000 subscribers a couple of days ago. But I'll do stupid videos if I think of funny things to do the stupid videos on, but I won't do it just for the sake of doing a stupid video, if that makes sense. Oh, I don't know what your other 2 gas masks are, so when you say what's a good 3rd gas mask to buy, you have to be specific. You can't say, what is the 5th best mask or something like that. Yeah, most modern masks do use polycarbonate now. That's like a standard new thing. Old masks didn't. Most masks don't need really any maintenance at all. You really just want a mask that's a NATO 40mm mask that you find comfortable and that would fit your face. When you say 2M, do you mean 3M, or is 2M like budget 3M? Yeah, 3M. Really depends. I'd just say get an S10 or an M15 or something like that. I've never had a chance to try a Scott M95. I've heard the M95 is one of Scott's few good masks, but things like the GSR they made are absolute crap masks. So, and Scott doesn't even exist anymore. They're a defunct company, so I wouldn't mind getting one, but I'm not going to pay a lot for it. And right, cool. Have a look at that then. Oh, stiletto for £40. Yeah, that looks interesting. I mean, most of these are sold out at the moment, but yeah, some of those I might have a look at. The Quillian dagger looks the best. I'd probably pay up to 100 for something like that, but yeah, 10-inch blade on that seems pretty good. I'll bookmark that site. So Fad, thanks for telling me about that, but I have to obviously check in when they've got something in stock I'd actually want. Right, now I have to get back to where I was in chat. I mean, if you bought a GP5 and put an FP5 filter on it, then GP5 is still a perfectly functional mask. Well, as I said, I collect the masks, so of course I've got a lot of them. If I wanted them for survival, I'd get 1 or 2 good masks and a load of spare filters, but I collect them as a hobby. So obviously that's why I've got so many masks. That's like asking somebody with a big stamp collection, what's the point in having so many stamps? Well, worst gas mask, that might be the GSR, or it'd probably be a crappy cheek filter mask. But cool, yeah, if you get a Scott M95 for free, it's probably alright, but that's an age thing. They're not normally tinted red. It's because on a lot of the masks they used things like celluloid, which discolours. From what I understand, Fallout player Avon M50 masks are some of the best masks available at the moment. That's why the US bought them. The M40 had a lot of problems, like the fact they actually made it out of a rubber that couldn't withstand blister agents, and then they had to make the second skin for them. Yeah, GP7 and PMK1s are much not good, are they? Because they don't have the oral nasal cups inside or proper Tissot systems. They're actually worse than the earlier Russian masks. You have to look at the individual masks and how to measure your face for an individual mask, because they all use different things. Most people just get medium and find it's fine. What do you mean by what does it mean to put an M on the end of a gas mask name? I don't get it. I like those modern Swedish things they've got with the weird like triangular camo pattern on. I think they're quite cool, but I've not seen those ever for sale on UK eBay, or at least not for, you know. Yeah, I've been on to holiday in Hungary. Hungary's a great country, like Poland and a lot of the other Central European countries. I only went to Budapest though. I haven't been to really anywhere else in Hungary. I was only there for a couple of days. Oh, when you say GP5M is in the Soviet masks, that means it's like a modified version or a different version. Do you know what brand of filters they were, Punisher? Because most filters I found are either metal or really solid plastic. I've never found any really sort of cheap and horrible plastics. Yeah, it's still the Avon CT12. It's up to you if you want to buy an NBC suit, isn't it? Well, this is mostly what this is. It seems to be a live Q&A about gas masks for the most point. Are you sure they are actual gas masks though, Owen? Because a lot of places sell these kind of paintball and airsoft masks, which are meant to look like gas masks, but they're not actual masks. They don't have filters or anything. No, just waiting for more questions to come in. Double filter masks are sort of pointless because the double filter is just designed so they last a little bit longer in a contaminated environment, and that you basically get easier breathing resistance. But I'd recommend just getting a mask that takes a filter on the left side if you're right-handed, and then just do it that way. The only problem Fallout player with the Tychem suits is there's lots of bits where you have to stick them together with sellotape, and it comes with like this kind of tape on it, but they're not really reusable unless you put fresh tape on them. So the Tychem suits are good, but they're ones that are meant to be disposable. So if you have it stored for too long, the like glue's going to dry out, and the suit won't make an airtight seal. So out of all the things I've got, I'd recommend building your own, really. Get a good raincoat and get some good fishing waders and make your own suit. Depends how cheap it is, Gaming Atlantic. If you're paying more than £40 for it, I'd say no. Okay, I know the Chinese made some like really cheap and nasty plastic filters at several points, but like most NATO filters are all metal or like really solid plastic, like gun plastic. Yeah, exactly. Those gas mask, airsoft masks aren't, you know, like I was saying, aren't really masks. They're just meant to look like masks. The GP6 is not the official name for it. That's like a slang name people give it, so it's only PMG2 and GP5M. It's because if it's issued to civilians, it's called the GP5M, as in civil respirator. That's what the GP's for on the Russian masks. The PMG I think meant something like lightweight military mask, so PMG2 was the military name for it. It's a bit like certain firearms have a different designation if they're sold on the civilian market or the military designation. With US masks, you can only buy those if you're in the US. If you try and order them from outside the US, they'll be stopped by customs. You might lose your money, or you might actually be violating some sort of crime. Well, smoke's canister is just some sort of chemical weapon, isn't it, that doesn't even work properly because the people with gas masks on are still hurt by it. I really don't know, Niam, because there's so many out there that are decent. I'd just say get an Avon mask like the S10 or the CT12 or FM12. Israeli M15's quite good. I've done a lot of videos that you can see on my channel about masks I'd recommend, so just watch those videos, because then you can get a more in-depth thing about each mask. Now, apparently, if you take it in your luggage, as long as like the people looking in the luggage don't throw a fit over it, it's okay. It's that somebody can't sell it. You can't buy it from somebody and have them send it you because it's considered selling of military hardware. Unless you're in America, American masks are hard to find because they're not allowed outside of America unless it's the US selling them. If you're in the UK, just get an S10, CT12 or FM12 because you should be able to get them for sensible money and they're good masks. As far as I'm aware, you can still order stuff from Russia. I wouldn't pay too much attention to Theresa May throwing her toys out her pram. Because I don't know if you've seen the latest thing, but London is now more dangerous than New York. We get more murders in New York. Sorry, we get more murders in London apparently per month now than New York. Yep. So, as I said, all this Russia stuff is trying to distract from domestic issues that the UK is a shithole country. Oh, the criminals have guns in this country, Fallout player. That's not a problem. You can buy a gun off a drug dealer. It's just honest people aren't allowed a gun to defend themselves. All gas masks protect from nerve agents if the filters are working and the mask works, but you need full body CBRN gear on to protect from nerve agents because they'll kill you through skin contact. Can you just look on the Australian version of eBay and see if there's any masks on there? That German M2000 looks really cool, but I don't have one. The M65's alright, but doesn't make a good face seal for me. The M65Z's meant to be better, isn't it? But again, I don't have that mask. The CT12 is definitely a better mask than the MP5. The MP5's alright, but the MP5's already been replaced by Poland. The CT12 is like one of the best masks available, so really you should have gone for a CT12. Yeah, if I could move to the US I would, I get asked that all the time. Now, if your friend wants to win a Darwin Award, let him win a Darwin Award. I think particulate filters kits do block smells if it's particles that smell, but for the most part no, because most smells are vapour. Well, moving to pretty much any country is not a cheap thing. And you'd need like a visa and everything else, wouldn't you, to move? You can't just literally move there and say, okay, I'm a US citizen now. I'll get the FAL down in a minute. Yeah, it's behind me. Hopefully I can fit it all into frame, but yeah, that might be a little bit difficult just because of how the webcam zoomed in. Yeah, let me get it. Just a second. I'm just needing to move my desk around so I don't... that should do. Right. Right. There you go, that's the FAL L1A1 SLR. It's not going to really all fit in frame because it's a long rifle. So, flip the rear sight up. How they deactivated this one, you can't pull the trigger, you can't change the fire selector. It's actually set to repetition, which means semi-auto on the SLR. Charging handle moves, but it doesn't pull the actual receiver section back. It just, the actual literal bit of the charging handle moves. You can open it up, you can take the dust cover off as well, which I won't do in the video, but obviously all the internals have either been taken out or welded shut. And the gas tube, if you can see that there, is been removed. So, although you can, the gas adjustment lever's still at the front, there's obviously no gas tube how they've deactivated this in it. So obviously, yeah, you wouldn't shoot if you wanted to get something shooting, you'd make a zip gun or get an illegal gun or whatever, legally buy a gun, but it's still a nice rifle. The magazine is removable though. Let's get that out without flipping the gun over. So there's some inert ammunition in there, and obviously it rocks in like an AK mag. But yeah, there you go, there's the FAL. Put that back down without smashing anything. Obviously that's a big chunky rifle. Right, let's see what I missed on the comments when I was showing that. I keep joking with people, what they should do in the US is, if there's people in America who hate the Constitution, they should do an exchange program with Europe. So if you want to live in a police state where you have no rights and you're going to be killed, you can come to Europe, and then the people in Europe who want to actually live in a constitutional republic should be able to go to America. Then we can have an exchange program of citizens where people who actually would like to support the you know, American amendment and way of life can move over there and swap out people who hate it. Yeah, I don't have that 3M mask with the big pink filters, but on a lot of the 3M ones you can get different filters anyway. So the 3M ones you buy like the ABEC filters and then put the particle filter on the front. Well, the British FAL is called the L1A1 SLR, but it's still an FN FAL. It's just a version of the FN FAL built under licence in England. Same as the Australian one. The Canadian one's the C1A1, but it's the same rifle. Right, cool. Where was I in chat? I think that L1A1 was about £400. I bought that years ago, though. You can't buy them like that anymore because they've made it even more strict on deactivation rules now. So that one I can't technically sell to anybody either. It's got obviously a higher black market value than stuff, but I'd have to pay to have it further deactivated and further destroyed, and then I'd be able to sell it for probably less money than it's worth. So it's obviously just staying as a collectible. Because somebody could hijack a plane in the UK and crash it elsewhere. It's pretty a sensible thing that all airports have good security. Fallout player, if you throw away the filter, you're breaking the law, and you really should go to jail for that, because if you expose other people to asbestos, like, you know, dustbin men and things like that, that's a really scummy thing to do. So, no, if you dispose the filter, dispose of it with asbestos laws. Or just keep the filter plugged, where it doesn't do any harm. Yeah, I've got the 3M 7500 and the 3M Disposable one. I can't remember the name of it, but it's called the CT12, not the ST12, Charlie Tango 12, and it'd be on eBay, normally not Amazon, because Amazon doesn't really deal with other than like 3M masks, stuff like that. Oh, asbestos doesn't grow in your lungs, it just damages it over time. What you have to do is get a lung x-ray carried out. They can tell if you've actually got asbestos in your lungs or not, because it clouds on the x-ray. If you've got asbestos, you just have to hope it doesn't do too much damage. I've got an Enfield, it's up behind me, but I'm not getting that down because that's more awkward to get down and everything. American gas masks get out of America where they're left in other countries where the US has been deployed. America sells them to other countries, or some get smuggled out, but officially they can only leave America if it's the US government selling them to people. Right, where was I in the chat? You do realise there's different sizes, right, with hats, so what you need to do is measure it and then check that you're using the right measurement for the different things. I have a Flecktarn hat somewhere that's quite tight, and again it's because it uses a weird measurement system. Yeah, as I said, if you're throwing it away in the sense that you dispose of it properly and within the rules, do that, but yeah, like, I really hate it when people are like, oh, I'm going to chuck this thing in a place where it's going to contaminate people with asbestos. It's like, no. I really hope that you get, you know, the full force of the law after you if you do that. It's a bit like people dumping poison in the river and stuff like that. No, you dispose of asbestos by getting it destroyed by an actual asbestos, you know, company that deals with it, where they either incinerate it at really high temperatures or they, you know, properly break it down. If you bury asbestos, it's still going to be there. I haven't got a Hungarian M67. I've got the Hungarian, I think it's 76M, the mask that they made the even cheaper one of. I wouldn't mind getting an M67 or 67M, whatever they call it, but I don't have that one. I've got the even cheaper one that has the plastic rather than the metal on it, but it doesn't make a good face fit for me, so it's not a very good mask, to be honest. Which one's the BW Parker? I know what the SAS smock is, but that's not really the SAS smock, it's just the, Is the German Army BW Parker just basically like an M65 jacket? No, it's slightly different. I mean, I quite like the British smocks, but like I said, I don't have one. I don't have either of those, so... Yeah, but the problem is the UK is if we suddenly put American laws here, that's going to cause a massive problem as well, because the country is not really set up for it. If 100 years ago Britain had more sort of rights, constitutional rights like America, it would be fine, but you can't really now suddenly start selling guns to people and things like that over here, because that would make this country go down the drain even faster, because everybody would just start going out and shooting each other. Alright, sorry if I've missed some of the questions. I'm just going to try and get closer to where chat is at the moment. Stealthinator, though, I think it's a bit like shoes, where some countries do different measurements and that. Because, like, if you look at boots, there's European size, UK size, US size, then there's another size, and it's, like, you have to work out which one it is before you order, or you'll get something that won't fit you. So I think it's the same with the hats. Yeah, I mean, the M40 is a more interesting one. Things like the MCU2P are the ones that don't last that well, because they've got the silicon visors, which go orange and then dry out. I have to just try and remember where I keep all my masks. I've got some in various cupboards, some on certain shelves, some in wardrobes. I've got the RPK down there where I can't really get it out easily. I showed it in a stream the other day, so if you want to see it, watch the bit in that stream where I got it out, or watch my videos on the RPK. I think the easiest thing would be to get a mask that's a solid face piece and then just put some sort of mesh over the eyepieces. I think that would be the easier way of doing it. Like, put some Airsoft pellet mesh thing, glue it on, like, you know, the mesh in front of the eyepieces, rather than trying to find a mask that should be Airsoft suitable. Yeah, I think Gepit looks like a cool mask, because it reminds me of the old GM30 masks that Germany had. They look cool, it's just they don't make a good face seal. But I did see a video somewhere where somebody was in Hungary and they were in like one of those old fallout shelter type things, and they just found like crates and crates of them all strewn across the floor. It's like when you see all the videos in Russia where people find like 500 GP5s in the crate in an old bunker. That's a difficult one. I mean, like, in terms of worse masks, I assume you mean ones that don't work right, because there's lots of masks that are very, very basic, and I wouldn't want to use them, but they'd protect you. And they're like the type you normally build for civilians to make them as cheaply as possible, like British World War II respirators are like that. The civilian one. It's a very primitive mask, but it would at least keep you alive, but it's an awful mask if you had to use it for anything, other than, you know, just sitting somewhere with the mask on, or running with the mask on. But, I mean, like I said, I really hate the GSR, but it's not really the worst mask ever made, it's just they had really bad quality control on them. So it's hard to answer, really, because as far as I'm aware, there's no masks that have been made where every single one has been defective. Yeah, I mean, if you had the room, you could do a really good gas mask display. If I had, like, a spare room in the house and nothing in it, I would set that mask up for gas masks. I'd put shelves up and, you know, do a thing like that. Then I could actually do a video. I could show nearly all the masks in one video. But most people practically don't have the room to do stuff like that. You alright, Mike? Yeah, the weather's been, like, really crap here, because, I was thinking, could I do a video today of the crossbow or the bow or anything, and it's just where like the ground is so muddy you skid on it if you walk on it when you're not walking on concrete. Won't keep, you know, it keeps raining. Oh, if you're interested, Mike, with your torch, when I focused it as much as possible and used it with the Night Fox, it was just over 400 meters range. But it's not very practical to use it at that, because you can only really see it if there's a wall and it bounces back off the wall. For the most part, using the Night Fox with its under kind of lens IR thing that's built into it is the most practical thing. But that torch is good. But I've set it up with the red bulb now, so I can use it as an outdoor torch and then just switch to Night Fox's onboard IR illuminator if I want to use the Night Fox. I think that's a bit more practical. But if I set up some sort of rig, I reckon it would be good to have that torch with the IR lens in attached to the side of the Night Fox, so it's always parallel. Especially if you had it on a tripod, then that way you could obviously focus it without, you know, having to try and hold both things steady at once. You could also have a GP5 actually just put the Airsoft mesh in front of the lenses, and that should be fine as well. Which is the USMC camouflage? Is that Marpat, or have they changed that? Because I know at one point the Marines had Marpat camouflage, didn't they? Which was pretty good. I don't think, as far as I'm aware, the Royal Marines have their own camouflage. I think they're just all using MTP camo now, which is... hang on. MTP is this, so I assume that's what you mean by the Royal Marine camouflage. I used to use DPM before that. Like, this was the Desert DPM, then Woodland DPM is like this one, but green and brown. It's a bit like the US old Woodland one DPM. Yeah, I was in Hungary last year, and annoyingly I did see a surplus store, but they didn't have any in that weren't sort of damaged. But I already had, you know, some of the masks, so I didn't bother. And I thought it might be a bit weird if I'm taking it back through customs, but yeah, because when I was in the Czech Republic as well, I was seeing if there was any masks there that were like super cheap, but I didn't spot anything. But they're not too much to buy on eBay anyway. When you say who made gas masks in World War One, I mean most countries did, like pretty much all of them did. They all had different people who designed them and changed them. You can trace the history of the gas mask though back like several hundred years before World War One. It was just in World War One they were made on a proper industrial scale. It's not too cold here at the moment, it's just wet and damp. I had an alright Easter, thanks, but I didn't do anything for it. Didn't even have any Easter eggs. Yeah, I like Stalker. I've done streams of Stalker before. Yeah, I like Marpat, but sadly I've never seen it for sale. It's one of the few digital camouflage patterns I think actually looks good. Sometimes you get M2000 on eBay, but they're normally £100 plus, so I've never bought them. What's Coca-Cola? Is that like Coca-Cola pronounced wrong? I've never heard of that. Clear Sky was alright, it's just that they changed a couple of things people didn't like. It's the most ambitious of the Stalker games. If you get that mod, where all the guns do proper high damage, Clear Sky is really fun, but... Which camouflage you on about the British Army use? All the camos that I've got, like the Soldier 95s and the MTP, it's, as far as I'm aware, everyone in Britain, no matter which bit of the armed forces you're in, have the same camouflage patterns. You still need a passport if you're gonna, I mean, if you're crossing the borders at random points, you don't, but if you're flying or, you know, going for a proper border crossing, you will need a passport. You don't need visas or anything like that for most European nations, but you do need to show a passport. The US wouldn't have joined Germany in World War II, but Germany was still totally screwed anyway because they'd attacked the Soviet Union, which just had like something like 10 times the manpower and equipment they did. Cool, Mike. I didn't even notice you say you were going AFK, though. I've heard that, Greg, but I don't know if there's truth to it, because I've heard surplus stores set claiming that and then trying to charge more for Flecktarn. So, I think it'd be a shame if Germany did do that. It's pointless if they destroy them or whatever, rather than selling them, because it's a good revenue source for them, because everyone likes Flecktarn. Germany's moving away from Flecktarn now. They're going to do the Flecktarn that's like the multicam version of Flecktarn, which should be good, but it's a shame they're no longer doing this one, because I really like the old woodland Flecktarns. I've ordered some more Flecktarn trousers the other day, though, because they're some like the comfiest camo trousers you can get, Flecktarn ones. When you say rig all your gas masks, do you mean bring them over or sell them or what? As for states, it would have to be the one, like I think I've been asked this before, it'd have to be a state where it's very pro-Second Amendment, so, you know, you can go shooting easily and buy guns you want and stuff like that. It'd also have to be a state where I could get on with the climate, because obviously if you're from England, you're used to kind of humid and damp conditions, and I'd hate to actually move away from that. So I guess it would have to be like either northeast or northwest, like the northern sort of states next to Canada for the most part. As much as I like the south, I don't think I'd get on with like the heat and everything in the south. Britain doesn't use multicam, they use MTP, which is like multicam, but it's not actually the same thing. If you Google MTP versus multicam, you should see pictures where it's being worn by like Americans and British soldiers at the same time. You can tell it's not the same camo. It's similar, but it's not the same thing. Oh, that's great if you got a Flecktarn Parker for £8. I've never seen it that cheap, but yeah, I really like Flecktarn stuff. It's comfy, it works well. Dosimeters, it depends. If it's a modern dosimeter, that's like a cross between a Geiger counter and a dosimeter, probably £100. If it's one of the retro ones that just changes colour, they're only like 10 to 20 quid, I think. Oh yeah, thanks, gas masks and stuff. Yeah, if everybody likes the video, I think it helps more people see the video. So yeah, give it a like if you're sat there with nothing to do. I prefer that Polish ML to the GP4 because that one actually makes a proper face seal because it's more flexible rubber. It's an alright mask when it was made. The GP5 is actually a better mask though. At the moment, I'm not really interested in any surplus Fank Stealthinator, just simply because I've got so much stuff that's cluttering up the house anyway. I need to start tidying it out. Bye Blue, Neon the Wolf. So at the moment, I'm gonna actually have to start. Like I've barely bought new masks for a while now, actually, because I'm trying to tidy stuff up and get rid of stuff I don't need to make more room for actual stuff I collect. The M76 Hungarian mask, you can find those all over eBay quite cheap. They're worth getting if you want an interesting mask, they're just not very good if you want one for protection. Yeah, I've got a PS3, barely use it. I'll play through Demon Souls every now and again on it and recomplete that. But otherwise I don't use the PS3 very much because obviously I've got a gaming PC. And that's where all this is plugged into, so that's much more practical. If you can get the Draeger M65Z, I've heard that's a lot better than the normal M65, but it's a nice mask, but personally for me it doesn't make a good face seal, and a lot of people have that issue. Never played Fortnite. I've done a video on that, my top 3 gas masks, but it would be Avon CT12, Forshida A4, this is the ones I own, and then the S10. If I could go through any masks, that might be different, but they're the masks I have. Could sell it, but I don't really want to because I do play on it occasionally. I wouldn't get much for PS3 either, so it's one of those ones where, right, see ya. It's one of those things, you know, where I enjoy playing it now and again, I just don't use it very often. M65 masks aren't rare at all. Germany made them from the 1960s, hence the name, to around 2000. So West Germany made them, and reunified Germany made them for like 30 then plus 10 years. Deadliest gas ever made would probably be VX nerve gas. If Novichok is real and everything like they claim, and proper Novichok, not it poisons people slightly until they're discharged from hospital Novichok, that's meant to be 10 times deadlier than VX. But it's like botulism, or the botulinium, whatever it's called, thing, is more deadly per, like, volume, much more deadly, but it's, like, not a weaponized thing, so... Let's have a look at Swiss Alpenflage camo. Is that the red and the reddy one? Because I might have some of that. Oh, it is. If you're speaking of Alpenflage, I might be able to get it. Just a second. This is Alpenflage, isn't it? I don't have any uniform, sadly, in Alpenflage, but I do have this. The, a rucksack. My friend got me one, like the knapsack rucksack things for, I think it was my birthday or Christmas. I've got just stored some masks in there to, you know, keep them in condition a bit. What masks have I got in here? Let's have a look. Where does the pack open? I can't remember. I think this was missing a strap when he bought this, which is the annoying thing, so I can't actually use it as a knapsack. That's button up, isn't it? Right, we have got in here a Belgian, what's it called? The one with the rotating thing. Forgotten the name of it now. It's like 4GP, isn't it? The 4GP, Belgian 4GP. And my Steve Gorman mask, I won't get that all the way out, the Steve Gorman mask that was never used for anything and then sold as surplus because the MOD decided to order a mask they had no use for. There's also, I think, a filter or two at the bottom of this. Yeah, there's an old S6 filter, but not the cool S6 filter. So I'll pop them all back in there, then I'll try and catch up the comments because I'm sure I've got an avalanche of comments now that I've missed. I guess I've been streaming for just over an hour now, have I, or coming up to about an hour. I'll do it for a bit longer, but I won't go on for ages because my throat will dry out. I'll have a drink in a minute. So you have to, if I miss some comments, I'm sorry. But I know the Alpenflage camo does work really well when it's actually used, like in places with leaves. Like you wouldn't think it would with the red on, but it really does. It's like the red in the Flecktarn. It's like a good pattern, I reckon, the Alpenflage. But it's a shame they didn't do a version of that where the red was replaced with a brown. I think if they did that and the black was replaced with a different shade of green or whatever, it'd be a better camo. But it's a nice camo for what it is. No, just look on eBay for helmets. I've not got all that many helmets. I just, you know, get them when I see them. Yeah, I mean, Alpenflage obviously works well in Switzerland on the actual mountains where it was designed to be used. It's just obviously not that good if you're trying to use it in Western European woodland for most of the year, or, you know, other places. Again, it's a situational camouflage. It works well for where it was intended to, but it's not that universal. Yeah, $50 for an IP5 seems like a good price. Like I said, if you know you're not going to use it, you just want something that looks really cool, then that's cool. I like my IP5, but as I said, I'd never set it up with the canister. Whether or not I buy one of those canisters, I don't know, because I'm kind of tempted to get the canister and just go like dirt with it, but yeah. Cool, glad you've caught the stream. A lot of people always complain afterwards that they miss the streams. I'm never very good at doing them at consistent times. I just have to do them when I've got spare time for it. When you say the gas masks have airbags, you're on about rebreathers. They're not actually gas masks. I really like the Danish Flecktarn, the one that's green and black, but sadly I've very rarely seen it. I've seen reprints of it, but I don't know how good that would be to the original colours. One of my mates has a Danish Flecktarn jacket. I think it's really nice, but sadly you don't see it here for good prices. But again, it's one of those camos where I wish they didn't put big loads of black on it, because it means the camo is less effective. I wish where that black was on the Danish Flecktarn, if they put a brown there, some shade of brown, that would be a really good camo, but sadly it's not as good as it could have been, because they decided to make like 30% of it black that just stands out. Yeah, you were saying Ben 40B, you're right. Yeah, I reached 30k, as I was saying earlier. I've done a 30k celebration video, I think, that goes on tomorrow. That might make people laugh. I very rarely play CSGO because I'm crap at it. There might be like some sort of film you can put on the mask. You know, like a tinted windscreen kind of film that you could put on to make it like non-reflective or whatever. Or you can just get the outs. There's actually outserts for the S10 that are like sunglasses outserts. Okay, let me see if I can. I used to smoke. As I've said before, officially I can't say I smoke because of something they did in the UK health stuff. So if anyone asks, I'm not a smoker. But I actually find lighters quite fascinating as well. Again, because you can buy lots of interesting, weird designs for not very much, and they're practical. Yeah, Mike, you should be able to get it for less than $30, Demon Souls. When I bought it, I think it was like £15, and that was the US import, so you should hopefully be able to get it shipped for less than $30, but like I said, Demon Souls, as much as most people say Dark Souls 1 is the best one, I think Demon Souls is the best of the Souls games, because it was the first one they did with all the fresh ideas. Then on like the sequels, they refined bits of it, but it also felt a lot more watered down, you know, and just copy-pasted. Right, where was I in the chat? Because the problem is you scroll down a bit and then the chat moves really fast. It's a shame I can't have a full screen chat interface. If I could, that'd be great. That'd be a lot better. But yeah, like there's funny enough, Evan, I did a video on about micro and macro camouflage patterns, where I was on about the colours seem to change, and it's like Flecktarn's great because up close you see all the little dots, and then at a distance it looks like DPM, where you've got the big colour swatches. So yeah, I imagine the Alpenflage would work well for that, but yeah, as I said, around where I am, I don't think the Alpenflage would work all that well. Right, glad you like the videos, Boris. I don't know about ABU and OCP, so let me look at them. I assume OCP is not Omni Consumer Products from Robocop. Is the ABU thing this US one that's coming up when I'm googling it? It looks alright, but I reckon that would be a bit obvious. The pattern looks interesting, but I think it looks a bit too grey. So in dark lighting, I think that would be too obvious. I think it's going to do the same thing that happened with that universal camouflage pattern, the UCP. Went wrong. What's OCP? OCP looks like a multi-cam or multi-terrain pattern. I suppose it's a different pattern, is it? Like, it's an actual different amount of squiggles and things like that. But as far as I can tell, that's just like another multi-cam, multi-terrain pattern, so I can't tell a big difference, to be honest. Alright, hello to Michigan then, glad you like the videos. Yeah, from what I can tell, like, I think, for the most part, if troops are in woodlands, they should have something like Marpat or a good woodland camouflage. For everywhere else, just give them a good desert or, like, multi-cam type thing. I'll have a look at Army Star, mate, and I'll see how much that Danish Flecktarn is, because I wouldn't mind some if it's not stupidly expensive. They've got the Union Jack at least for the English language, which makes me hopeful that they would ship, maybe. Oh, they have the bright red camo trousers like I've got. That's good. They have M65s, but their M65s on here are like 30 quid more than elsewhere. But I'll have a look. Right. I can't see much of that M84 on there. Yeah, they only have the Miltech reprints, they don't have the original. So again, it's like I was saying, like eBay. But thanks for the suggestion, but yeah, sadly it seems like they've only got the reprints of it, but... I've tried pop-out chat, Mike, but I don't think you can enlarge it. I'll try it again, but from what I remember with pop-out chat, even if I make pop-out chat full screen, yeah, then the text is even harder to read, actually. I mean, I'll try pop-out for a bit, but it's white text on a black background, which I hate because that gives you eye strain. And I think the font gets smaller sized, and because the font stretches out across my screen. I mean, I don't know if I can resize the box to just make it taller, but oh yeah, I can. That might be alright. Alright, let me put this in the middle of the screen again, or where it's good to look at. Let's do it there, so it looks like I'm looking more central. Yeah, but I bet the lighters the Chavs litter aren't very good ones. Ah, cool. IMCO lighters are great if you get the genuine ones. I don't think IMCO butane lighters are very good, but the IMCO classic lighter fluid petrol ones are great. $200 for an MCU 2AP is pretty expensive. I only paid about 30 for mine, but it was broken. This is Flecktarn, as in the name of the stream. A lot of the Chernobyl workers had dust masks, and that's where they learnt that dust masks don't give you adequate protection, because they were still inhaling lots of radioactive dust, even though they had the dust masks on. Some of them had that rarer Soviet half-face mask that was apparently alright. You'll see some where they have other Soviet military masks on, like SHM-41s. Some have rebreathers on. You find them wearing all sorts. I guess it's just whatever they were issued with. I used to collect a bit of Warhammer. But I've not done it for years. It's just too expensive, the actual models, like what Games Workshop want for them. I like a lot of the 40k games and stuff like that you can play, but any idea what the free filter mask was named? I've not actually heard of the Canadian or CAMS UK agreement, so I can't really give you my thoughts on it. Is it like some sort of trade deal or something like that? Yeah, I mean, thanks Gasmask and stuff. I mean, I get a lot of people, like, more subscribers per month. Like, my channel's generally always been on an upwards trend since, like, I've been doing this full time. But, like, now and again with YouTube, they'll start putting you down a bit because they don't like the content you're making or whatever else. But, yeah, thanks for the support anyway. Yeah, I like CADPAT, but Canada destroys it, don't they? You have to get the reproduction stuff, because for whatever reason the Canadians did this stupid thing where they're like, oh, we can't sell the surplus because people do Stolen Valor, but then people buy the reproduction uniforms and still do it anyway. And the Stolen Valor dickheads normally do it with actual, like, military dress uniforms, don't they? Not actual camo, but... yeah, and then Canada said something like, oh, it's got the, IR layer on it, that's why we can't sell it, even though lots of civilian camos now still have IR layers on anyway. Alright, let me have a look at Flecktarn UK then, if you're suggesting that. Right. Danish M84. The jackets are all out of stock. They've got the jackets that don't look quite right. The trousers look alright, but I don't have any really need for them, unfortunately. Thanks for the suggestion, but annoyingly they're out of stock of the bit I'd probably buy, which is the coat. Because the coat looks better than all the others, and the coat seems to have better contrast on the colours, but the shirts seem to just look like green and black. Right, let's get the chat back up. Yeah, as I was saying earlier in the chat, you can't buy US stuff from America because it's export banned. It's covered under military acts. It's considered like military stock. No, the Avon M50 is the mask that came before the GSR. The GSR is like a cheap knockoff of it. The Avon M53 is just another M50 variant. The Americans have had the M50 for quite a while. What games do I play? Quite a few. Trying to think if there's anything I've actively been playing. At the moment I'm playing through the Curse of Monkey Island because I put that on Steam the other day and it works on modern systems without messing about. I don't play too much multiplayer stuff now, to be honest, because there's not that many games I enjoy. I'm meant to be trying to play Overwatch again, I haven't done that. This is what I do as my job now. I used to do a normal job and then YouTube, like 1 or 2 YouTube videos a week on the side, but I can support myself through YouTube enough just about now, thanks to people on Patreon as well. If it's a real World War II Russian mask, that's quite cool, but a lot of the people lie when they say that. I've played the Sniper Elite one, the Africa one, and the one before that. They're alright, but I've seen that the new Sniper Elite, or not even that new now, is that has really bad enemy AI, and it's like a cash-in game. So I quite like Rebellion as a developer, because they're not too far away from me, actually, Rebellion, but I like their old Judge Dredd game they played. If anybody ever played Dredd vs. Death, that was a lot better than their modern games. Speaking of the Northwest Passage, has anybody watched The Terror and the stuff like that? That's good. Yeah, you can find US sellers selling gas masks. The issue is you can't legally buy them. You'll either get arrested, you won't get your money back if customs stop it. You might get it through customs, but the thing is, you know, it's not technically legal. I'm not going to disclose exactly how much I make. You can see how much people have pledged to me on Patreon, but obviously it will vary a lot on month anyway. But like I said, some of that is confidential stuff as well, because I fill out tax forms with it, so I can't exactly disclose that. Alright, have a nice breakfast then. Oh, I probably not want to get completely killed on a medieval battlefield. I mean, you're most survivable, aren't you, as a knight, because they've at least got armour and training and good weapons. Depends what battle it is and everything, but I think you're pretty screwed. The people who are probably most survivability are the people working on the siege engines, like catapults and ballistas and stuff like that. Yeah, it's definitely worth watching, Mike, when you get the time. I mean, only episode 1 and 2 are out at the moment, for regular people anyway, because AMC did this stupid thing where they have their own streaming service they want to promote, so they put all the episodes of The Terror up at once on their own service. But then the only people who can see that, apparently people in certain US states on a certain internet package that then buy into the AMC thing. So they've basically got nobody using their own service. So they should have just done a regular TV release of it or whatever else. But the first 2 episodes that you can find are good. YouTube demonetizes some of my gas mask videos, not others. It's totally random, really. What country are you in, Rusu? Because that totally depends on what you can legally get or what you might be able to get. I like my favourite gas mask carrying bags, the M10's M bag, but apparently not all of them have that. It's like the kind of fake leather kind of bag. It's got a lot of capacity, it's got lots of pockets, good sturdy bag. Yeah, AMC is the company that did The Walking Dead, but this is the Terror we're talking about, not The Walking Dead. So you're back, and then you say bye, okay. I have no idea what's legal in Moldova, mate. You'd have to look at your local laws. Obviously, a firearm's the best thing if you can get one legally, but if not, you might have to get, like, baseball bats and things like that. I'll have to search AHC and BHC to see what that is. I'm not getting any interesting results for AHC. It's all different companies of AHC as an acronym. Is it American Heroes channel on American TV network? Because that's the only thing that comes up. I haven't even played COD World War II, so I can't do a gas mask of COD World War II, but I've done actual gas masks from World War II. I'm not going to play COD World War II either. Yeah, I can hunt rabbits, I've got an air rifle, but eating rabbits is not good for an SHTF type thing, because you get rabbit starvation. That's like one of the big mistakes people make. You could eat it with other stuff, but you can't eat rabbit alone. I've just got a lot of canned food, but as I said, I'm not preparing for a long-term shit hits the fan thing, because I'd die anyway, because I wouldn't be able to get the prescription medication I need. Serbian M2, I think I paid about 20 quid for it, but I bought it years ago. Alright, Rocket. We get a history channel, but it doesn't ever make programs, it just shows our World War II documentaries non-stop. What do you mean having the filter as an extraction unit? I don't know. The filter would absorb most of the smell, but some of the gas, like the vapours or chemicals in it, would still get through. I'm not an expert on that though. Right, I think I'm going to go back to regular chat because it's easier to read on my eyes than the other one. I'm going to have a drink while I'm waiting for some more questions to come in. Rabbit starvation is a real thing, Fallout player. If you don't know about this, you ought to read up on it. It's because rabbit meat is very high in protein, very low in fat and carbs. So if you eat rabbit meat exclusively, you die. Alright, gas masks and stuff. Don't know much about either of those. I mean, the Romans obviously were a lot more civilized, I guess you could say. A lot more modern technologies at the time. But if you're on about a particular battle, then whoever won the battle, I guess. Weihrauch make the best air guns, don't they, pretty much? So the HW97 is probably one of the nicest ones you can get ever. It's a bit annoying because one of my friends recently bought like a really expensive air gun. And I said to him, if you're spending that much, get a Weihrauch, and he was like, oh no, I'll get you know, an underbarrel or not underbarrel PCP. But yeah, Weihrauchs are really nice. If I had a lot of money and I was getting a new air gun, I think I would get a Weihrauch underlever, but as I say, can't afford it at the moment. No, I just like plinking in the garden anyway. Probably would like the Avon FM53, mate. I like most Avon masks, but yeah, I'm sure if you go to Germany, you can buy a gas mask, put in your luggage, and it should be fine. I've got an IP5, I have no use for any more of the IP masks, to be honest, because obviously I can't do anything with them and they take up even more room than regular gas masks with all the bladders. Well, Jack, funnily enough, some of my family are like Irish, some are like Anglos, so Anglo-Celtic, whatever, like most people in this country. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, for the most part, you can buy masks from anywhere in Europe and it's not a problem. No, I don't know any Airsoft sites around that area because I don't live in that area of the UK. Just use Google Maps and find what's around your area. The SLR I showed earlier in the video. If I could have any gun and get ammo for that gun, I'd have one of these. If you were going to include pistols in that as well, I quite like the SIG P226. Also like, what's it, the Browning High Power. But if I was just going to be anything, I'd go for this rifle and obviously be able to get 7.62 NATO for it. 308 ammo. One of my friends has a really nice Springer that doesn't even feel like a Springer. It's a Beeman. I can't remember what model it is. I've got a video of it on my channel somewhere. And it's one that, you know, it's super smooth to cock. You barely have to put effort into cock. It shoots about 12 foot-pounds. It's like, you know, a full UK legal power one. Very low recoil as well. It's a lovely rifle, you know. For the, I think they're only like a £200 rifle as well. So it's, for the price he paid, it's a brilliant rifle. I don't have a Gorka suit, so I can't do a video on it. I'd like an M50, either Canadian C4 or an M50. The C4 because people tell me it was the best mask of its generation. Like because I like the S10 and masks like that. Apparently it's, you know, masks like that, but even better than the S10. Or what's it called? Yeah, the Avon M50, just because that's like the current US Army issue thing, and it's meant to be very good. Australian gun laws are stupid. I've been over this a few times because they did the failed buyback policy, didn't they, where they didn't offer people very much for the guns. They only had like less than a year's worth of guns that were sold, turned in, you know, and people in Australia were very pro-gun for years. So now you find apparently illegal guns everywhere, and, you know, people with legitimate uses for the guns can't get them. I'm a Russian spy, Edwin. You should know that by now. I work for the Russian government. I didn't even know they were still making the high power, to be honest, Nixon. I assume they'd stopped the production of that years ago, because it's sort of an obsolete gun, isn't it? It's just a bit like the 1911. It's an absolute classic. I suppose it's kind of like a 9mm 1911, isn't it, with a few improvements, like the double stack mag. And there's a couple other little features they did with it, isn't there? There's a good Hickok video where he shows the differences between it and the 1911. I really like the P-dot one, that like 44 dot, isn't it, like the old Flecktarn. But sadly I've not seen anywhere that sells the replica ones at decent prices. They've always been like £100 for replica shirts. It seems very expensive. Any NATO filters will work with it, or RD40 industrial filters that are ABEC P sort of type ones. No, if you've never got a filter on a mask, it should be far easier to breathe than if you got the filter on. I don't know why that's happening. I go on K occasionally, but K is one of those places, like lots of the Reddits, where it's filled with Dunning-Krugers for anything you look at, where it's generally, just threads always turn into a shouting match between two idiots rather than people actually discussing stuff. So yeah, I don't bother going on K, to be honest, all that much, because it just makes me annoyed whenever I look at something of interest, and then the threads always dissolve into petty arguing. Like I saw one the other day where he's going, oh, this guy's talking about me, his videos are really crap because you can't use air freshener to test a gas mask. And every time somebody said why not, he wouldn't actually answer why not. He's just like, no, you should use tear gas. So, you know, it's just whenever I look on something on K and things like that, can you stop spamming the chat, tell you what. I would want to try out a feature. There are memes about me I've seen people have made on my own Discord, and then I think they spam them elsewhere. I've got the Chad Weapons and Stuff one saved. I like that, but you'll notice Asbestos is spelt wrong in there. But, yeah. I've seen other pictures where they've captioned like my videos on places, but like, I'm not really that interested, to be honest. You shouldn't use me as an authority on anything. That's called the authority fallacy. I can be absolutely wrong about things, I can be right about things. Just because I've got a lot of gas masks in my collection doesn't automatically make me right. Also, the amount of YouTube subscribers and views I get doesn't make me right either. If you're going to argue I've said something wrong, or if I'm going to try and claim I've got something right, I need to show actual evidence as far as I'm, aware. That should be how you should do it. That's the problem with all these, yeah, exactly, it's keyboard warriors, but it just annoys me with all these things, that regardless of what it is, even if it's not a video I'm doing, it's a video somebody else has done, a lot of times somebody will put a lot of effort into that, they've done some really good research, and somebody's like, no, you're wrong, won't tell you why you're wrong, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, the Chad Weapons and Stuff one I found quite funny, because I actually liked the meme, and then somebody made one with me in it, which I thought was funny, and they'd even gone to the effort of doing the red camo trousers. But yeah, because I saw where I was talking about idiots arguing about stuff on the internet. There was one that really annoyed me the other day, where I was looking up stuff about different camouflages, and somebody was complaining a woodland camouflage pattern was bad because he lives in a desert sort of country, or desert state in America or something. Like, I guess he was in Arizona or somewhere, like a very arid desert type place, and then was complaining the woodland camouflage didn't work in the desert, therefore it was a crap camouflage. So, just some of the people who argue about stuff online. I was wondering what you're on about with the bush, but you're on about the bush down the lane. I was down there in the night vision the other day, and there was a person shining a torch out there, and I wondered what they were up to, and it was because they'd lost their dog. They had two dogs. So one dog ran past me, and then I said to him, I think your other dog's back there in the field somewhere, because I could see on the night vision, something running around in there. But right, glad you're not using the asbestos filter anymore on the GP5. Like I said, I'll try and answer things best I can, but I'm not an authority on things. That's what people should understand. At no point do I try and claim to be 100% right about everything. I have to research stuff myself, like masks and all that, because the information isn't always easy to find. And then, once you've I found information out, I try and corroborate a load of it, and then do a video on the best stuff I've heard. But it doesn't make me 100% right. But again, like I was saying, don't, with anything online, try and look at well-researched information as much as possible. I've got a few weights. I've got a barbell under my bed. I can't remember, I've probably got 30 kilos on that. I've got a 40 kilo kettlebell there, I don't use that very much. Got a 12 kilo kettlebell here. So that's the 12 kilo one, obviously. What else have I got? I've got quite a few different exercise things, to be honest. I've got like a rowing machine that I barely use because it's covered in junk. I try and keep healthy, but I don't go to the gym or anything, because as far as I see it, that's a waste of money when you can just buy weights. I've got some dumbbells down there as well. But I'm one of those people that should exercise more, but I don't do it enough. I've got a pull-up bar as well, all that sort of stuff. So it's, when I get into a habit of it, I can be fairly good. I sometimes go jogging as well, but I'm asthmatic, so I have to be quite careful with that. So I have to, carry the blue inhaler on me. This one in case I do anything dodgy. So yeah, I'd like to think I'm average fitness, I guess, but like I said, I'm one of those people that if I discipline myself to weightlift more often, I'd probably be in a much fitter state. But I'm definitely not in bad shape. Like, shooting the bows and crossbows requires you to physically lift it and all that. How can you use a Polish MP4 on your GP5? Shove a cheek filter mask in the GP5. That's pretty cool. I mean, a lot of the stuff the Swiss do is quite advanced and well thought out. So yeah, props to the Swiss for doing that. Have they got a newer mask than the Swiss SM90? Because I know the SM90 is a really nice looking one that sadly never turns up as surplus here, but it's the one on the front cover of Stalker called a Pripyat. The one that looks a bit like an M15 but isn't. I would do a review of a Dutch K53 gas mask if I got one. Like all these things. Sorry, I just need to clear my throat, so bear with me, a bit disgusting. Ugh. The K53 is that the one that takes the 60 and 40mm filters? It's one, like with any gas mask, if I get them I do a review on them, but I can't get them unless I can see them, and then I get them at a sensible price. Live in the UK, I'll say the southeast. Some people do know a bit more where I live there, but I don't obviously give that out publicly. Are you thinking of MS4 filters? Polish MS4 filters? Yeah, I think you're thinking of the MS4 filter is what I think you're probably thinking of. As for the MS4, it's one of those filters that's not been proven to have or not have asbestos in. So it's one I personally wouldn't use. I'd use things like the modern FP5 filters. I think it would definitely be better than a GP5 filter, but again, it's like, I wouldn't recommend any of those old filters, even if, you know. You asked me already, could I get an IP4, and I've said I'm not going to bother because I've got an IP5, and I don't see the point in getting more rebreathers that take up space I can't use. Sieb Gorman used to do a lot of gas masks, but sadly they're a defunct company now. Friends, Germany could have won World War II if they didn't get into a conflict with the Soviet Union, just focused on beating Britain, because they could have probably beaten Britain if they actually continued their air campaign and things like that. But because obviously Germany, as usual, bites off more than they can chew, the invasion of Russia just doomed Germany. Even without Lend-Lease, Russia would eventually have won. Or it would have been a stalemate, but Germany certainly wouldn't have won World War II as we think of it now. For the most part, I have grown out of asthma, but it's definitely one of those things where I can get properly wheezy and need it, so I'm not overdiagnosed at all in terms of that. Can't really get smoke grenades here. Yeah, it's today's Skyline. The US rules about gas masks, like selling and exporting, is like a Cold War rule. They've never relaxed because it was to protect military secrets. But yeah, you know, it's one of those things where it was a rule that made sense in the Cold War. The Cold War was ended. They've not ended the rule, despite the fact some of the stuff is obsolete technology people want to buy anyway. Germany couldn't have won World War II because you have to look at this logistically. Yeah, you see, the thing is as well, is that because they started ethnically cleansing people in Eastern Europe, you can't have people in Eastern Europe siding with them. What you're basically saying is, if the Nazis weren't in charge of Germany in World War II, then maybe Germany could have won a different kind of war, then yes. But when you have sort of people like Hitler in charge, of course they're not going to win. The smoke grenades you get for Airsoft aren't like real smoke grenades, are they? They're more like kind of flares that set off smoke. I guess they're similar enough, but they're not grenades. Alright, see you, Fallout player. I don't know how much a gas mask in Germany should cost. Totally depends on the mask. As far as I'm aware, A2, B2, E2, K2, P3, and then all the other little letters you can have for various other gases are the best filters you can get. But the issue with filters is the more they protect you from, the bigger and bigger they get. So, for most part, ABEC P3 filters are the best ones you can get, but how much they cost is, you know, totally random and stuff like that. The best time to get gas masks is if there's a load that are being sold because they run out of date, not in, you know, not too far away time, so then you can get a good filter that's still in date, you know, and if it's still sealed you can probably use it for longer than that. But VX is blocked by regular NBC, CBRN or ABEC filters. It's nerve agents are very easy to block with a filter, it's just that they kill you through skin contact as well that makes them so dangerous. I store my gas masks around all over, that's why. I like some of Alex Jones's stuff. I mean, I don't watch his show very often, to be honest, but if he's covering something I'm interested in, I might watch Alex Jones's sort of input on it, but otherwise I don't, you know, watch his show all that much. It's like, some of the things he said with David Icke are quite good on there, but no, I don't have a hazmat suit. I have several NBC or CBRN suits, other like rain gear that works as a CBRN suit and all that. But I don't have a hazmat suit because they're the ones where you have to have an oxygen tank in it or it fixed to an airline because they're positive pressure suits. I've got an entire series on Shit Hits the Fan, mate, if you want to look at doomsday plans. But I've pretty much said in all my videos, I've got preps for short-term stuff, and then longer than that, I think you're pretty screwed anyway, so I'm not bothered, especially in a country like the UK. If I was somewhere like the US, where you might live in a really rural area, then I'd definitely have longer-term, you know, food and water storage and stuff like that, but the UK, it's not worth it, just because of how quickly a country like this would fall apart if it did fall apart. I've only played the first Portal, it's alright, it's a good puzzle game, I haven't played Portal 2. No, don't know anything about the 1937 Bulgarian helmet, I'm afraid. Yeah, in the Highlands and the islands off of Scotland, you might be alright, like the Shetlands and things like that. In mainland UK, there's no chance, because it's a tiny island with 60-odd million people on it. Like I said, I don't like Fallout 3 or 4 because they're the Bethesda ones, and Bethesda hasn't really made a good game since Morrowind. I won't go on too much longer now on the stream because my throat's getting quite dry. I'm getting very phlegmy in my throat doing all the talking. Yeah, Thief the Dark Project and Thief 2 The Metal Age, played those, they're good. I like Thief 3 as well, but a lot of people didn't like Thief 3. But Thief 4 is awful. If you didn't hear about the latest Brit Bong thing, it was that London's murder rate is now higher than New York for several months running. That's including people being shot as well, despite the fact guns are apparently illegal. Alright, cheers, gas masks and stuff. I think the Hammerites are the best out of all of them. With the big mallets, not mallets, big sledgehammers and all the builder stuff. Yeah, I was just doing a stream this afternoon because I've got some jobs done around the house I was meant to be doing, and now I'm free for a bit, so I was doing a stream now and then I'll do some other stuff. But it's wet and horrible outside as usual. Like, we're into April now, it's meant to be spring, and we're still getting you know, lots of rain. The air temperature's pretty cold as well for what it should be for this time of year. When I was out last night with the night vision, you know, my fingers are going properly numb from it being cold, even though it's, you know, we're meant to be in spring. Glad you like the streams. I'll carry on doing streams. Like I said, I've got a good microphone now, so I'll just show you, actually, because mic's on. I'll show you what I did. So hopefully that's visible on the thing. Is that visible? Yeah, so you can see there. if I get that in frame better. It's got the back section. It's really hard to get that in frame properly. Is elasticated, banded onto the front with that foam from that torch, so that cuts the background noise down by quite a lot. Actually, it works well. Oh, the blue snowball, yeah, because it's supposedly that's the best microphone you can get around for the £50 price mark. That's why I ended up going for it, because I wanted a good microphone, because normally I buy cheap and then buy twice, so I ended up getting one that was, you know, loads and loads of good reviews for it, rather than... Yeah, I can imagine if you're in a desert country you don't get much rain. Yeah, I've got the foam on it. You don't need that, but because my computer's only like a couple of inches, or you know, less than a foot behind the microphone, otherwise you pick the fan up on it. So the foam cuts the fan noise down by more than 50%. So then I can boost the microphone to pick my voice up well, and you know, it should all sound good. Yeah, it was just a thing. I thought, oh, I was going to just chuck that away, and I thought, actually, that might be the exact right kind of thing I want for the microphone. So then, yeah, cut it down a bit in size, put the cable through it, so, you know, the cable connects to the back, and then that's there. Because luckily, this has got a removable cable rather than one where, you know, the cable's permanently attached. And then, yeah, elastic banded it on to pull it around the back better. Yeah, I did see that you sent me it. I did reply to that. I think I replied to it anyway. I might order one of them. I'm not sure. We'll see. But, yeah. Thanks for the link anyway. Oh, you mean because I've got a defined chin line? Yeah. Masculine features, yeah. I think that's just because I've got relatively low body fat. And that's kind of the typical Anglo-y sort of Celtic face that people have around here. But... I think it's also apparently because I chew too much in my sleep. I grind my teeth down apparently, so it probably gives me some jaw muscle, ruining my own teeth. I've not looked much into HEMA, mate. I know of it, but it's one of those things I've... Yeah, maybe I should do a joke gas mask ASMR. I'm definitely not gonna... Like, I'll do the Russian voice. Very sexy, very relaxing. With GP5, muffle my voice even more. Should do ASMR like that. I just find all that milsurp stuff and gas masks and that interesting, but the main reason I get gas masks is just far cheaper than the other stuff. What have my eyebrows done then that's interesting? Yeah, because Anglo people do look like Mr. Bean. Rarely watched any anime, mate, so I don't have a problem with it or anything. I've just never really watched it. The problem is my Soviet master drinking tubes don't work very well. Otherwise, I could drink some vodka out of the what's it, PMK1, but that doesn't work very well. Alright, thanks for thanking me for my 30k. Congratulate me on 30k. Right, yeah, that's been an hour and a half. Thanks for everybody watching. I'll probably wrap this up now. What do you mean by a full body respirator? Wouldn't that be a hazmat suit? Well, saying that, just before I go, you saying about the eyebrows, you remind me of something funny. There was a girl I used to work with that was one of those girls that would pull her eyebrows off and paint eyebrows back on, and then she'd always tell me I had really nice eyebrows, and I'd say, well, it's because I don't pull them out. You know, I don't really see the point of masking taping your eyebrows off and then painting them back on with a pencil. Seems a bit stupid to me. Cheeky filters. I don't have any cheeky breeky filters. I've got cheek filters, but they're not very cheeky breeky. You might like tomorrow's video then, today's Skyline. It's not as good as the Halloween one, but I've done a silly video for the 30k because people, you know, wanted that. Yeah, he's gone now. My favourite World War II streams, Where Eagles Dare, mate. I don't actually know when I'll be live streaming next, because it's basically just when I've got free time and I can do it. So I'm afraid I can't really tell you that. That's why mine are always short notice and a bit crap, because there are a lot of days where I think, oh, I could do a live stream now, and then something's going on. Because of like where the house is set up, if my next door neighbour's doing something and he does a lot of like DIY, often there'll be really loud hammering or whatever coming from the other side of the wall. So yeah, the SF10 and CT12 are pretty much the same things. I've seen Letters from Iwo Jima, yeah. But as I said, Where Eagles Dare is my favourite World War II films. I haven't seen Series 2. I like Series 1 of Stranger Things, but I never watched Series 2, so I might do that at some point. You have yet to find what, sorry, Tillis? I saw you said all the M10, but... Yeah, I've not watched Band Brothers and Pacific, like both of those. Weren't they meant to be doing a third series about something else, and then they cancelled it, though? UB Fail is very close. I think you're about 1 centimetre out, but you're very close. I'm about 5'8", 175, yeah. 5'8", 5'9". Part of the problem is I can never stand up fully straight, because I always seem to probably weirdly compress my spine. So now and again I will stand at proper full height, but otherwise I'm always slightly hunchbacked. But alright, anyway then, I guess that's all the proper questions that have come through. So right, thanks for watching the stream, everybody. I'll see you whenever. As usual, videos on at the normal times. I'll stop the stream now anyway, because in 10 minutes my actual video goes live for the 5 o'clock one. Yeah, would I get done for bomb making though if I bought an IP5 in the UK? Because it's potentially explosive, isn't it? Right, yeah, so see you then.